Ajay Aftani, editor of LiveFromALounge.com is with me. So is Sanjay Lazar, aviation expert and author. Thank you to both of you for joining us. And, we just want to get some perspective on the show. Sanjay, let me come to you first from the point of view of pilots. On the face of it, if there is enough work, should there really be an issue if 40 hours becomes the guaranteed flying time? Because if there is such huge demand, you aren't going to make it up to 70 hours in any case, isn't it? Give us some perspective of why this is the crux of the issue as far as pilots are concerned.
Good afternoon, Tamanna. Thank you very much. And first of all, let me compliment both your, journalists. They've done a great job, gone very deep into the details, and I cannot refute any of those details.
They're
bang. Let's get to the point that you ask. You asked about there is enough flying. Why are pilots complaining? Now, I'll take you back 3 years prior to COVID, 4 years. The norm was 70 hours, whether it was Air India or Indigo or Vistara, everybody was getting 70 hours. During the pandemic, it got slashed in the national carrier. And then, other airlines cut back a little bit to tide through the pandemic. Post-pandemic, the ICPA and the IPG kept insisting that we go back to 70 hours. Vistara offered its pilots 70 hours. Indigo offered its pilots 70 hours. Essentially about 70% of the market was paying 70 hours. Now, what is guaranteed flying? A pilot has a limited shelf life. He flies 30 days a month, barring his weekly offs and his rest periods on FDTL. So he has to be utilized by the company. So essentially a guaranteed flying concept came in about 20 years ago. It was flying hours in the late 90s in Air India. So what he does is he's available, 30 days in the month. He doesn't take any leaves, etc. If he does 40 hours and the company cannot utilize him for 70 hours, they pay him 70 hours guarantee. On the other hand, if they want to utilize him to 70 hours, he's available for them, because that is his regulatory allowed flying. He's allowed to fly, up to about 100 hours, 18, 90 hours a month, because he goes up to 800 hours a year. So it depends how you divide that. So pilots are complaining that they're taking away the 70 hours, reducing their minimum earning per month. And then there is no certainty once they go into the larger airline, whether there will be enough for them or not. Now, the second point you've made, which is why are they complaining of, fatigue? Or I think one of your colleagues made it, is because they are flying time off to time off. They are flying, roster to roster and almost inhuman, social conditions. So a lot of them want breathing space, and some of them are not flying well, like you rightly pointed out. So there is a difference. Because like she said, they're doing one-way command on some airlines. They have transferred first officers already. I believe 24 have come into Vistara. I believe there are another 10 or 15 coming in this next 2 weeks. So you will see a large influx of pilots here. On the other hand, we go back to 1 week ago when, we were told by Vistara, nothing is wrong. Few pilots fell sick. Then to have a town hall, then to admit, 15 or 20 pilots have resigned. And now to say sorry, and we will be back to normal, and we're cutting 1,000 flights.
No, so Sanjay, just give me a sense. Is this industry norm? What is the
70 hours is
what is the market leader offering?
Market leader is offering 70 hours, period. So 70%, 65% of the market, which is Indigo, is offering that.
Yeah.
Air India was asking for that. Pilots were asking, but then the Go Air incident happened last year. So, they signed on 40 hours. Vistara is currently 70 hours. They're asking their pilots to go to 40 hours.
So that's the crux of the issue. At the end of the day, you're asking people to take a pay cut when most of the industry is offering a higher level of pay. Now remember, this is for a job which is an essential safety-led job. Ajay, I just want you to put into perspective what this move is and how you see it as a strategic move from the Tatas. And we put some of those questions. Is this simply HR mismanagement that you thought you could push it down? Because at the end of the day, pilots said, hey, I'm going to take my leaves. to add insult to injury in a sense, at least from the pilot's perspective, all your leaves lapse on March 31st. You can't roll it over either. So now you're thinking that anyway I'm getting a pay cut, my leaves won't go further, I might as well take all of them. Is that what happened?
Yeah, Tamanna, sort of that's what happened. I think there were certain policies at Vistara which obviously, look, it's not that the CEO is sitting on top of this whole situation on a daily basis, right? He must be getting a report and dispatches and everything, but he's not micromanaging the situation. There's a head of rostering and there's a rostering department which will do a lot of things. What I assume happened was that there was a certain stress that built up into the system. What they did not factor in was that there was leave expiring on 31st March. And in spite of the fact that it's called sick leave, if you call in sick, nobody's coming to check, right? So everyone decided to take a day off. Many people decided to take a day off, I mean. And they did not have enough people to replace these 70 odd people who went to leave on the last day of March or the first, second day of April. So that's where the whole system came apart. And we're still dealing with about 20 flight cancellations a day. Yeah, the other part of the problem is the fact that there are these people who are being asked to take a roughly about 40% pay cut, which I think in today's era is unheard of. And just remember that the market leader is perhaps going to be willingly happy to absorb them if they're going to be relieved from uh, Vistara. In fact, 15 people are rumored to have already left for the other carrier.
Okay, so you're saying, one second, let me get this straight. You're saying that the next leg of the problem could be an exodus, because if there is higher guaranteed flying hours available on offer, there is no real reason why anyone should stick around for a lower level. Now, Sanjay, I just want to understand this. Now, between the 31st of March and April 4th, maybe it was all about the sick leaves. What has compelled Vistara to announce flight cuts for the whole of April? How is that going to help? Is it because there are insufficient pilots? Is it because it gives the management enough bargaining power to deal with the pilots in the interim?
Tamanna, in this case, I think there's a larger spotlight of scrutiny that has come on. As Ajay rightly pointed out, the head of the roster, the operations head, should have been pulled up. They should have been looking into this issue at Vistara. I don't know why the HR did not mollify the pilots prior to this. The most important, the DGCA has issued as I understand from press reports, a show cause notice on training practices at Vistara. Now that is puts a big question mark. The moment that comes in, and pilots had already pulled back and reported sick, the logical thing for Vistara to ensure this does not happen was to cut back on flights. Once you've got the eagle eye of the ministry, the minister, the DGCA, over your shoulder, obviously you can't really do things that your roster may have been doing earlier, like pulling the pilots to its rubber band edge. The second thing is, which Ajay also pointed out, and you asked about industry standards. If you can pay an expat 20 lakhs and 80 hours guaranteed, I will tell you that you must pay the Indian pilot his 70 hours, whichever airline it is. And it is going to become an exodus, not just one airline, all, because it's going to impact. You see, if you're ordering 2,000 aircraft and you're not paying everybody industry standards, it's going to impact. This is where the role of the regulator and the ministry will come into play, because already we know there is a flight and duty time limitation CAR, which was to come in, but which has been deferred because a number of people or companies asked for it to be deferred. That was regulating fatigue. That was also controlling, the flow of pilots. It was controlling their rest periods, their duty times. That has been put on ice. The second thing that comes in is now you are having this huge merger, which is great for the corporate, because the merger is the need of the hour eventually to achieve economies of scale. But you don't bring somebody's salaries down when you're merging them. You protect them and take them into that new environment. It may cause another issue. That's an HR aspect to be looked at. But I think there's a lot of soul searching that needs to be, done in this, and a lot of work to be done to rebuild morale.
It's also making me wonder about all the hiccups that they're going to face while consolidating this business. And we should pull back a little and look at this in that perspective as well, Ajay. The Tata Group is got a number of challenges on its hands. They're trying to revive Air India, they're trying to rebrand it, improve quality, etc. And then on the same time, you are trying to make this business profitable by cutting down minimum flying hours. How are they going to put this all together when you still have one player with a 60% market share domestically?
So I think, there's this old adage, right? Penny wise, pound foolish. That's what happened in this case. They were trying to perhaps, I don't know, okay, on the balance sheet, the profitability impact of the whole scale of the situation. But having done mergers and acquisitions in the past, not at this scale, I can tell you there are two approaches. One is everything flows top down, and then people accept it or move out of the system. And the other one is to take everyone along. In this case, what's happened is I think they're trying the top-down approach, where everything is a diktat, and then people figure out if it works for them or not. What with a resource that is as constrained as cockpit and cabin crew and so on. These are people. These are your frontline staff. These are your ambassadors in the air, okay, and on the ground. And all these people need to be taken along. You can do as much 35,000 feet blue sky strategy, but it will need to be implemented on the ground. And I think every person in the Air India / Vistara group should be visible of what their role is in this, and how can they contribute, and how will they benefit out of the situation. That's just a change of approach that I think the group needs to make.
Let me take that question to Sanjay, the hiccups that they're going to face. And Ajay describes it as penny wise, pound foolish, and a bit of a top-down approach. Is that going to work with pilots who are right now in great demand in an aviation industry which is expanding rapidly?
Taman, I've seen almost 4 or 5 mergers during my lifetime in the airline industry, and not all of them have been very smooth. In fact, none of them have been smooth. Having said that, I do believe that in the larger sense, this merger is critical and essential for the Tata Group, for Air India, for Air Asia, Air India Express, and Vistara. And I believe, every airline knows all its employees are the core of any operation and merger, but pilots and cabin crew are your frontline. And they're a very, very critical resource. So if we don't handle them well and handle their integration properly, it's going to explode. And I believe that, the past week has probably seen, Vistara sufficiently chastened, and they will climb down and probably, like I keep saying, talk to their pilots, talk to their frontline employees, and not talk at them. But it's going to require careful planning. I have seen, a lot of what Air India has planned, with Tata's have planned and behind AI. And I believe it will be a successful merger, but it will take some time. But we've got to realize one thing, that you can't buck the norm. If the industry norm is paying, if Qatar can pay a pilot a commander 25 lakhs and a first officer 10 to 12 lakhs, and you are paying your own expats coming in, foreigners coming in 20 lakhs, you can't expect an Indian kid pilot to take 2 lakhs and take a 1 lakh hit and say, I'll fly your plane. We've got to be cognizant of these things. We're a global market. We're charging global fares when we fly internationally. I believe we should pay our staff, the norm.
My question is that how have Air India pilots then accepted 40 hours for so long? At the end of the day, if there's a merger, either the Air India pilots get paid more or the Vistara ones get paid less. So then how have they accepted it? It's been working, isn't it?
You've seen the ICPA, IPG letter. There's a story to the Air India pilot issue as well. I don't know if you recall, a year ago, Go Air shut down. So there was a glut of pilots in the market who were willing to take jobs at any price. It was unfortunate that Go Air shut down. It impacted flying, it impacted fares just like Vistara's cancellations, have led to almost a 30-35% increase in fares in the last week and going forward in summer. At that time, there were, 200-300 pilots available for jobs, and they jumped at airlines. So the Air India pilots the two unions did accept it at that time. But I do believe we've not heard the last word on that yet. I think everybody will have to sit at the big round table and have a chat. Otherwise, you rightfully said, there's going to be realignment of numbers somewhere.
Also going to see airfares go up. Ajay, do you expect that to happen in the month of April? Peak summer period, vacation period also for, a lot of schools. Do you see airfares simply going up with at least 10% of Vistara airlines or flights off the roster?
So I think, Tamanna, I was just checking for some flights for May. At this point of time, things look steady. Some very near-term flights, the next week or 10 days might have gone up in terms of pricing, but that's not something that we specifically can put on this issue. But I think if you look at fares 3-4 weeks out, at this point in time, they look stable. But then again, I'm only looking at metro routes at this point in time. Some of the routes where there may be just 1 or 2 services like to, Jammu and Kashmir, Leh, and so on. These tourist routes might be seeing more spikes than the one that are there for the metro to metro connectivity.
Right. So, we'll see what happens to airfares. We'll see what happens to the negotiations, and be sure that negotiations will definitely be on between two sides. This is not the end of it, as Sanjay Lazar has also said. But for now, thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Ajay. We'll keep tracking the story right here on NDTV Profit.